evening, and the sky above Lagos was gray, like it too had given up hope. Hannah walked through the streets, her feet swollen, her breath shallow. Then she saw it, a tray of bread loaves outside a small kiosk. The owner was inside, arguing with a customer. The smell of warm bread reached into her soul. Her stomach twisted. Her daughter's cries echoed in her head. She looked left, right. Nobody was watching. She grabbed one loaf. Just one. Enough for them all to share. But before she could turn away, a little boy pointed. "Thief! She's stealing." The shop owner came running. "You dey mad. Give me my bread." Hannah tried to explain, but the crowd had already gathered. Men with wrappers tied around their waists. Women holding phones. Teenagers laughing. She thief bread. Imagine. Hungry woman. Go beg, no steal. She be ritualist, oh. No, no, please. Hannah screamed. It was for my daughters. They haven't eaten in days. I swear. A slap silenced her. Someone kicked her. Another grabbed her hair and dragged her to the street. "N.A. bread today, N.A. peeking tomorrow," one man said. She go explain for fire. "No, please. My children, Tara, Laura, help me." The mob didn't hear her, or maybe they didn't care. Used tires appeared. Someone brought petrol, lighter fluid. The stench of death surrounded her even before the fire came. She was crying, begging, but they poured it anyway. Her daughters ran toward the crowd, screaming, "Mummy, Mummy!" But strong hands held them back. They lit the match. As the flames rose, Hannah screamed, not from the pain, but from the heartbreak. She wasn't thinking of herself anymore. She was thinking of Tara's cough, of Laura's tiny fingers, of the story she wouldn't live to finish. The fire swallowed her, and just like that, silence. Smoke filled the air. People took videos. Some laughed. Others stood in shock. But no one moved, except one person. They said love is blind, but no one told Hannah that blindness could burn down an entire life. Back when she was a jewel of Ibadan, Hannah walked through markets like royalty. Her father, Chief Olufemi, was one of the biggest cocoa exporters in the region. Her mother, Mama Bisi, had raised her to be gentle but sharp, elegant but wise. And for years, Hannah carried that balance with pride, until K.O. came along. He wasn't from their world. He didn't wear Igbado or speak with the careful respect of Ibadan men. K.O. were from Lagos, bold, smooth, and fast-talking. He had swagger in his step, perfume on his collar, and promises in his mouth. He told Hannah she was beautiful like sunrise, that her parents were old-fashioned, that love should be chosen, not arranged. And she chose him, against the warnings, against her father's silence and her mother's tears. Hannah packed her things one night, left her family estate, and entered Coyote's world without looking back. At first, it was sweet, the rush of rebellion, the thrill of city life. Their wedding was small but passionate. They laughed, danced, made love like fire. Then she got pregnant with their first daughter, Tara. Things slowed down a bit, but she believed it was just life settling. Then came Laura, the second child, and then everything broke. K.O. stopped coming home on time. Money started disappearing. His love became instructions, then insults, then slaps. One day, Hannah came home from the market and found another woman in their bedroom. The woman smiled. K.O. didn't flinch. That night, he told Hannah she was no longer his wife, that she could leave if she wanted, that she was a burden. And just like that, she was thrown out. No warning, no goodbye. Just her and her 2 daughters, standing outside with torn bags and tears. She tried calling her relatives, but none answered. Her father had died months earlier. She hadn't even attended the funeral. Her mother died shortly after, and her family held Hannah responsible. You broke their hearts, her cousin had texted. Now carry your cross. So she carried it, from one bus stop to another, from begging at churches to sleeping under the 3rd mainland bridge. Lagos was cold at night, not from the air, but from the hearts. People passed her like she didn't exist. Tara cried for food. Laura developed a cough that wouldn't stop. Hannah sold her last gold chain for Gary. She offered to wash clothes for strangers. She even tried to get work in a canteen, but they mocked her for being too soft, too proud, too clean for street life. She didn't fit in anymore, not with the rich or the poor. One day, after 3 days without food, she wrapped her daughters in a wrapper and whispered to them, "Mama will find something. Just wait here." It was early evening, and the sky above Lagos was gray, like it too had given up hope. Hannah walked through the streets, her feet swollen, her breath shallow. Then she saw it, a tray of bread loaves outside a small kiosk. The owner was inside, arguing with a customer. The smell of warm bread reached into her soul. Her stomach twisted. Her daughter's cries echoed in her head. She looked left, right. Nobody was watching. She grabbed one loaf, just one, enough for them all to share. But before she could turn away, a little boy pointed. "Thief! She's stealing." The shop owner came running. "You dey mad. Give me my bread." Hannah tried to explain, but the crowd had already gathered. Men with wrappers tied around their waists. Women holding phones. Teenagers laughing. She thieved bread. Imagine. Hungry woman. Go beg, no steal. She be ritualist, oh. No, no, please. Hannah screamed. It was for my daughters. They haven't eaten in days. I swear. A slap silenced her. Someone kicked her. Another grabbed her hair and dragged her to the street. "N.A. bread today, N.A. peeking tomorrow," one man said. She go explain for fire. "No, please. My children, Tara, Laura, help me." The mob didn't hear her, or maybe they didn't care. Used tires appeared. Someone brought petrol, lighter fluid. The stench of death surrounded her even before the fire came. She was crying, begging, but they poured it anyway. Her daughters ran toward the crowd, screaming, "Mummy, Mummy!" But strong hands held them back. They lit the match. As the flames rose, Hannah screamed, not from the pain, but from the heartbreak. She wasn't thinking of herself anymore. She was thinking of Tara's cough, of Laura's tiny fingers, of the story she wouldn't live to finish. The fire swallowed her. And just like that, silence. Smoke filled the air. People took videos. Some laughed. Others stood in shock. But no one moved, except one person, a young man with a camera around his neck. Dele, a documentary filmmaker, capturing stories of street life. He had arrived too late to stop the fire, but not too late to find the girls. He rushed to them, wrapped them in his jacket, and carried them to safety. "I saw what happened," he whispered. "I won't let her die for nothing." As the fire died down and the crowd dispersed, Dele walked back to where the ashes lay. Only burnt bones and blackened rubber remained. But something caught his eye, a small locket, half melted but still closed. He picked it up, carefully opened it. Inside was a photo, a beautiful woman, smiling beside a man in a white suit. The same man he had seen earlier that week on the billboard. A business tycoon. KO'd aid banjo. Dele's hands trembled. Who was she? He asked himself. And then he turned to the girls. Who was your father? The girls looked up, tears in their eyes. Tara whispered, "His name is KO'd." And that was when everything changed. The night felt heavier than usual, as though the city itself was ashamed of what it had just allowed to happen. Dele stood quietly on the bridge, holding the girls close. The older one, Tara, clung to him with her small fingers while Laura whimpered softly against his shoulder. They hadn't stopped shaking since her mother's screams had faded into the smoke. Around them, traffic moved as if life had not just ended beneath the hum of engines and street lights. But something had ended. Something had been broken, not just in the world, but in him. He couldn't sleep that night, not because of the smell of burnt rubber that still clung to his clothes, not even because of the echo of Hannah's final cry. What haunted him most was the silence of the girls. Children that young shouldn't be that quiet. They should have been laughing or crying or calling out. But instead, they just stayed, hollow, as if whatever spirit had made them human had died in the fire too. The next morning, Dele took them to a small clinic in Yaba. Laura had a fever and Tara had bruises from trying to fight the mob. The nurses were kind but distracted. "We see a lot of cases like this," one of them said. "Mothers killed for stealing. Children abandoned. Lagos doesn't wait for anyone." Dele didn't reply. He just sat by their bedside, holding that melted locket in his hand. He stared at the photograph again and again. It wasn't just that the man looked familiar. It was a certainty in his bones. KO'd aid banjo, real estate tycoon, recently named one of Nigeria's 50 most influential men. He had given a TEDx talk. He had smiled on breakfast TV. He had talked about lifting the poor out of poverty while his own wife burned under a bridge. How did someone that evil get to be called a success? Dele needed answers. But first, the girls needed a home. He contacted a friend who ran a shelter for displaced families. They agreed to keep the girls safe under assumed names. "Don't say where they're from," Dele warned. "Not yet." Then he went back to the bridge. He filmed the burnt spot where Hannah died. The soot still painted the pavement. A few scattered breadcrumbs remained, trampled and blackened. Someone had scrawled the word thief on a nearby wall. Dele stared at it. Then he took out a black marker and crossed it out. Underneath, he wrote, "She was hungry." The video he edited that night was short, just 2 minutes. It opened with footage of Hannah being beaten, then the flames, then the screams, then the silence. Finally, a caption appeared. "She stole bread for her children. Lagos burned her alive. Was it justice or murder?" The video went viral in less than 24 hours. Social media erupted. Some people blamed her. Others demanded an investigation. Celebrities shared it. Activists called for action. But what caught Dele's attention was a comment buried in the flood of reactions. "Why does the woman in the locket look like the late Chief Olufemi's daughter?" Dele clicked on the commenter's profile. An old woman in a Baden. He sent her a message, and within hours, he was on a bus to Oyo State. The estate of Chief Olufemi was still standing, though weathered. Dele introduced himself at the gate. The security man, old and wrinkled, paused when he heard Hannah's name. "You knew her?" Dele asked gently. The man nodded. "I raised her. From small. I knew something was wrong when she left with that man." "What man?" Dele pressed. "KO'd. Lagos boy. Too slick. Her papa didn't like him, but she no hear word." Dele followed the man inside and met with one of the surviving aunties. She was older, tired, but still carried the sharpness of a woman used to commanding rooms. She confirmed it all. Hannah had run away with KO'd. Months later, her father died suddenly. Then her mother. KO'd had returned later with forged documents and claimed Hannah had signed everything over to him. The court accepted it. "I knew something was wrong," the auntie whispered, "but by then he was too powerful, and she never came back." Dele felt a wave of nausea. Everything Hannah had lost, her family, her home, her name, had been part of one grand manipulation. KO'd hadn't just broken her heart. He'd planned it. He'd murdered her legacy. Before leaving, the auntie gave him something. A letter Hannah had written but never sent. She had left it in a drawer. In it, she apologized for running away, for choosing love over family. But she also said she missed them, that she was trying to make things right. Dele read it on the bus ride back, his fists clenched around the paper. When he arrived back in Lagos, he made a decision. He wouldn't just expose KO'd online. He would bring him to justice, legally, publicly, painfully. He contacted an investigative lawyer. Together, they reviewed the forged property documents. They found inconsistencies, signatures that didn't match, witness names that didn't exist, and most importantly, a medical report from Hannah's father showing he was in perfect health a week before his sudden death. It was enough to start a case, but they needed more, a living witness. Dele remembered something. On the locket photo, Hannah had been wearing a necklace with a gold dove, unique. In KO'd's recent public photos, his current wife was wearing the same necklace. Was she the second woman in the story? Had she known all along? Dele tracked her down, attending one of KO'd's charity events pretending to be media. He saw her, dressed in a white gown, smiling like nothing was wrong. But her eyes, they flickered when she saw the photo of the locket on Dele's phone. He approached her quietly. "I know what happened to the real owner of that necklace," he whispered. She turned pale. "If you want to live with peace," Dele added, "tell the truth, or her daughters will grow up thinking you watched their mother burn without lifting a finger." She didn't say anything, just walked away. But a week later, a letter arrived at Dele's office, anonymous. Inside were documents, a confession, details of what really happened the night Chief Olufemi died, how KO'd had poisoned him, how the secretary was forced to sign fake papers, how Hannah had been silenced. It was everything they needed. Dele stared at the girls, asleep in the shelter room. He ran his hand gently over their hair. "Your mother didn't die a thief," he whispered. "She died trying to feed you. And now, the world will know the truth." And with that, he prepared for war. His courtroom was colder than Dele expected, not because of the air conditioning, but because of the way everyone looked at him as he walked in. Some were reporters, whispering and scribbling. Some were family members of the late Chief Olufemi. Some were just curious Lagosians, drawn by the headlines, business tycoon accused of murder by viral video journalists. KO'd arrived late, of course, in a spotless white Igbada, gold watch glinting under the courtroom lights, and a smug smile on his face. Beside him stood his lawyers, 5 of them, each more expensive-looking than the last. He greeted people as if attending an award show, not a trial for murder and fraud. But Dele wasn't moved. He sat quietly beside the state prosecutor, his fingers tapping lightly on the table, his eyes locked on KO'd, not with hatred, but with resolve. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The proceedings began. At first, the court clerk read through the charges: fraudulent acquisition of property, falsification of legal documents, and suspicion of orchestrating the death of Chief Olufemi and his wife. But it wasn't until a photo of Hannah and the burnt bread site was displayed on the screen that the courtroom shifted. People gasped. Even the judge paused. That image, Hannah's locket, half-burnt, with her and KO'd smiling, was undeniable. Coyote's lawyers objected, claiming emotional manipulation. The video is hearsay, one said. A tragic but unrelated incident. My client did not know the woman shown, and the children are not his. That was their plan, to erase her completely. Dele stood. Permission to introduce DNA results, he said. The judge nodded. The court clerk handed the folder to the bench. Inside were the sealed results proving that Tara and Laura were, in fact, Coyote's biological daughters. Silence fell over the room. Coyote's jaw clenched, but he still didn't speak. Then came the witness. She entered quietly, wrapped in a plain scarf and dark glasses. No one recognized her until she removed the scarf. It was Blessing, Coyote's former secretary, the one who had typed every fake document, the one who had stayed silent for years. She took the stand, her voice trembling at first, then growing stronger with each word. He told me to forge the signature. I didn't want to at first, but he said if I didn't help him get the property, he'd ruin my family. I didn't know he'd kill anyone, but I heard them arguing, Chief Olufemi and KO'd. Then days later, the chief died, and Mama Bisi, she was poisoned too. I saw him mix the tea that morning. The court erupted. KO'd stood up, shouting, "She's lying. I don't even know this woman." But the judge banged the gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Aid Banjo." Dele watched as the truth unfolded like a long-withheld breath. More witnesses came forward. An old notary admitted he was paid to stamp documents without verifying their authenticity. A neighbor remembered seeing Hannah crying in bruised days before she vanished. A nurse confirmed KO'd once brought her to a hospital under a false name, then disappeared. All the pieces were falling into place. But what struck Dele most was not the drama. It was the absence. Hannah wasn't there to defend herself. She wasn't there to tell her side or to hold her daughter's hands and say, "It's okay now." She had already paid the price. They were just now counting the receipts. Outside the courtroom, the city buzzed with debate. People who once judged Hannah now wore her face on T-shirts. Activists marched with signs that read, "Justice for the Bread Mother." Talk shows played her video over and over. Some called it a revolution. Some called it guilt. But the girls, Tara and Laura, they didn't understand any of it. They only wanted their mother. One night, after a long day in court, Dele sat beside them in the shelter. Tara looked up at him with tired eyes. "Uncle Dele," she whispered, "is the bad man going to jail?" He hesitated. "I don't know yet," he said honestly. "But I promise, the world now knows your mummy was a good woman." Laura asked a question next, one that shattered him. If she was good, why did they burn her? He had no answer. He just pulled them close and let them cry. The next day, the final witness took the stand. It was a clinic doctor who examined Hannah's body posthumously. His report revealed something no one had known, not even Dele. She was already sick, the doctor said softly. Hannah had advanced pneumonia. She was dying slowly. The hunger made it worse. If they had helped her instead of burning her, maybe she could have lived long enough to recover. She didn't just die from fire. She died because no one cared. The judge, for the first time, looked visibly shaken. In her final ruling, she declared Ko guilty on all charges: forgery, murder, fraud. His assets were frozen. His new wife filed for divorce. His face, once on magazines, now marked front pages with the word monster. The girls were granted permanent guardianship under Dele, who promised to raise them with every truth their mother had been denied. But even in victory, it didn't feel like a celebration. At the burnt spot under the bridge, where Hannah had died, here lay a mother, not a thief, not a criminal, just a woman who loved too deeply and trusted too wrong. We failed her. Dele stood there one evening, the girls beside him. The sky above Lagos had turned golden, soft, as if finally mourning her too. She didn't burn because of bread, he whispered to himself. She burned because of our silence. And from that day forward, her story was never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it, so the world never forgets Hannah's name. Let her voice speak through you, because too many women are still suffering in silence, punished for the crimes of the men they once trusted. Subscribe now for more powerful stories like this, tales that reveal truth, inspire justice, and remind us all of what it means to be human. Your support keeps their voices alive.